Hey everyone, welcome to a Whole Food Whole You Resource Group live video. Today we're just going to do a quick video on how to make bone broth. So this is going to be a very no frills version. I already have my one bone sitting in the crock pot right now. I'm going to be using a crock pot to make the broth today. You can use a pot on the stove, but I find it to be not as convenient because you'll have to monitor it for, 2 days, so that's a little inconvenient. But with a crock pot, you can literally put a few ingredients inside, leave it for 24 to 48 hours, and it does the work for you. So we're gonna get started. If you missed this video live, you can watch the replay on the Facebook page, and I'll also be posting it on YouTube. Okay, so let's get started. So what I have in the pot right now, in the crock pot, I have just this grass-fed bone from a farmer at the farmer's market. I'm actually not sure what kind of bone it is. It's from a grass-fed cow. I do try to get grass-fed bones when I can, and pastured, so from a local farmer. If you can't find grass-fed, it's okay. Try to do your best with that. I just try to get grass-fed because I'm not totally sure what might make it into the bones, and then you do have like the meaty goodness around the bones, so you're still eating some meat and getting some of that in this broth. So anyway, the bones you should try to look for, again, you can usually find them at the farmer's market. They're pretty cheap per pound too. They should be. Don't get overcharged. The ones that I can get are usually $4 a pound or so. So try to look for bones that are joint bones. Try to get a good mix of them if you really want that gelatin in your broth. So like knuckle bones, chicken feet are actually supposed to be really great, though I've never used those because the idea of feet, floating in broth freaks me out a little bit. Okay, so that's all about the bones. Now we're just gonna add water in. And I should also mention that usually I would use double the bones. I would try to fill this up a little bit more with bones just so I can get a lot out of this. But this is all I had left in my fridge, so this is just what we're working with today. So just so you know, usually it would be probably double this amount. So I'm going to fill this up so it sits just above that bone. I'll add a little bit more. And again, usually when I make this broth, my water is pretty much at the very top of the crock pot because I have so much of the bones in there. Since I only have this one big chunk today, I'm just gonna fill it up about halfway because I don't want the broth to be too diluted. Okay. So water, grass-fed bone. Now we're gonna add a little bit of apple cider vinegar. I just have this organic one from my local grocery store today. I also love I think it's Bragg's that makes the apple cider vinegar. It has a yellowish label, and it should say that it's raw, unfiltered, unpasteurized, and with the mother. That's the kind of apple cider vinegar that you should look for. So this helps to break down the bones in the bone broth. And I don't really measure this, I just kind of drizzle it in. That's probably enough. Because it will depend on how much water and how many bones you have in there. And then the only other ingredient that I use for my very basic broth is just about a tablespoon of salt. And I'm probably just going to use half of this today because I only have that one bone in there. And that will add some flavor. So this is a very, very basic broth. I'm not adding in vegetables and garlic and any kind of other flavoring for this. You can do that, and usually what people would do is, I think they add those in later for a good flavor, because you don't want the vegetables to cook for 48 hours. They wouldn't be so tasty after that. So again, this is a very, very basic broth. This is what I'm going to be using later to make a soup with. So all I do So I put the lid on my crock pot. I set it to high, and it will cook on high usually for a few hours. So I'm making this at about 2 p.m. my time, Eastern time. So I'll probably just turn it on low before I go to bed. Once I turn it on low, I will let it simmer on low for about 48 hours. So I will write myself a note that in 2 days, so around the time I make this soup, I will turn off the crock pot and use it. And I found that that seems to be a good equation for getting the gelatin out of the bones and just a good taste for the bone broth. It seems to be enough time because you really want it to be able to cook in there with the acid long enough for the acid to bring out the different components of the bones, so you can actually drink them in your broth. For those of you who don't know, and maybe I should have introduced the video with this, bone broth is really nutritious because it is full of protein, really chock full of protein, gelatin and collagen, which are great for gut health, and minerals as well. Lots of different minerals that reside in the bones that come out in this process. So that's all I have for you today. If you have any questions, please leave me some comments, and I will also post the easy recipe for this in the group. All right, I'll talk to you later.